Well, hello, I'm Vinita Hampton Wright, and this is Days of Deepening Friendship. We have a guest today, Joe Paprocki, who is one of the best-selling authors for Loyola Press. Joe's books, there's the Catechist Toolbox, that was the first one, and then recently Practice Makes Catholic, and then his book that's just now, will be coming out very soon, is 7 Keys to Spiritual Wellness. Do I have that right?
You got that right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Joe to be our guest today because his book is about really self-care. It's about spiritual wellness. It's about practices that help keep us healthy spiritually. And I think a lot of us work really hard, and sometimes we work too hard, and sometimes we don't take care of ourselves as well. And not only physically, but spiritually, we don't take the time we need. So I wanted to talk to Joe a little about that today. So anyway, Joe, you work with catechists for a living. This is the big thing you do. And it's safe to say that most of the people you work with are women. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's about 95%.
Yeah. So what have you noticed about the ways in which women sometimes, well, not just women, but in general, the people you work with, what are ways in which we don't take as good care of ourselves? Or what would you like to say to people who are just hard at work, and often hard at work for the church or in spiritual matters? What have you noticed in the people you've worked with?
Well, I think that it's particularly a danger for people who work for the church because we think that we are immersed in spiritual business 24 hours a day, and that can be deceiving because so much of what we're doing is busy work and keeping us kind of on the surface, and so we are often not in touch with our spiritual lives. And a lot of times people outside the church say, oh, I wish I could have a job like yours where you're just immersed in spirituality all the time. So I think we fool ourselves in that. In particular, I think women in ministry, women in general, in society today face such a huge challenge because there are so many expectations on women. When I think back to my wife raising our 2 kids and working full-time, and that's something that her mother didn't do and my mother didn't do. So she had no role model for how do you do that, how do you hold it all together. And today, the majority of women who are raising a family are also working. And so they're dealing with this expectations of being successful at work, being successful at home, being a good mother, being a good wife, being a good employee or a good boss. And in ministry, it just exacerbates because we tend to be giving people, and people who want to serve others, and so we're trying to serve our family, we're trying to serve in our job, and sometimes there's nothing left in the tank. And so I think one of the real challenges that people in ministry face, and I think it's a real challenge for women in ministry, is just recognizing and setting limits. And we live in a world that tells us that we can have it all and we can do it all. And that's not true. There are limits to what we can do and what we're capable of doing. So I think the real challenge comes down to how do we recognize our own limits, how do we admit them to ourselves and to others, and then how do we try to live by those and abide by them instead of trying to do it all and in the end hurting ourselves and hurting others because there's nothing here to draw from.